All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for this virtual business nonprofit roundtable. We're going to try and keep this as concise and efficient as possible, since we know everybody's really busy, but thank you for taking the time this morning to join us. So just to give you a quick run of show, we're going to have an overview from Ledgely Health District, from our Director of Economic and Community Development, and also from our Director of Human Services. And then we're going to open it up to comments, questions, feedback. We wanted to share some updates and what's been happening on our side with you, but really we wanted to get feedback and answer any questions and hear from you all. So we're going to try and reserve the majority of the meeting for that purpose. As a reminder, if you're on the phone only, you can press *3 and then we can unmute you. Or if you're on the WebEx, you can unmute yourself to ask a question, or you can type it into the chat function if you prefer, and we'll be looking on those ways. If you're on Facebook, we hope you also maybe have dialed in ideally and you can ask a question that way, but if not, we are also trying to monitor Facebook for comments and questions, but the primary way would be WebEx and the phone ideally. Just a reminder also to please keep yourselves muted until you want to ask a question or talk. So with that, just again, thank you. And maybe we'll open up with Mary Day, who's a public health nurse practitioner for Ledgely Health District. Mary, thanks. You know, you're so busy, so thanks for taking time to join us today.
We're happy to be here. Thank you for having me. So to give you an update from Ledgely Health District, we have been busy working on school reopening guidance. We are working with school nurses and school administrators to develop a plan for contact tracing and screening for COVID-19, and advising on guidance for COVID-19 scenarios that may come up with reopening of schools. We are also keeping up with sector guidance for restaurants and businesses. So, not much has changed lately other than the self-service of beverages is now permissible. And then we're also very busy with contact tracing. So we currently have, since the start of the pandemic, we have 919 positive cases of COVID-19. Lately, our numbers have been low in our area, so we're very fortunate. And we are working with DPH on and our local volunteers doing contact tracing of positive cases and their close contacts. Also, if we do have questions about EEE, I'm happy to answer them as they come up, because I know that has been in the news lately as well.
Thank you so much, Mary, and for everything you guys do at Ledgely. I don't think you sleep. You guys seem to be on call 24/7, so thank you for your help. So with that, maybe we'll go over to Sue Cullen, our Director of Economic and Community Development.
Hi there. So there's an awful lot going on in town and in my office today as well, because my office is actually being painted around me as I'm broadcasting. That's Mike who's painting my office. So it just sort of happened that this was the moment. I wanted to tell everyone about all the good things that are happening, even though it's been a very challenging spring. And I've been here for 3 months now. I was sort of listing off this morning all the things that have happened in that 3 months, and there've been so many, sort of bright stars coming. There's just so many exciting things happening. We got a AAA bond rating, which allowed us to borrow $10 million to repair and bolster our sewer system. And although that's not something particularly super sexy or sparkly, it's such an important part of making sure the infrastructure of our town going forward is safe and sanitary for everyone. And those underpinnings become very important in the future for anything that's happening in town. So that was really great that we were able to borrow that money at a super cheap rate because of our good bond rating. So that really says a lot about the town's financial stability and the future here. So that was a really exciting thing to happen. We also received $15,000 in an affordable housing plan grant. Stonington currently only has 5.93% out of the 10% that's considered our fair share of affordable housing in Connecticut. And so one of the things that the state wants is for people to be able to, move that needle forward. So we were given some money to be able to take a good look at our regulations, and we'll be signing a contract next week for a third-party consultant to come in and really take a good look and see what else we can be doing better. So that's exciting. We also received through the Office of Policy and Management, through OPN, we received an urban action grant for $600,000 for the Pawcatuck sidewalks on Route 1, which has been a very long-standing project, and it's been wanted in town for a long time. It'll end up going, the project area is somewhere from the high school to Mayflower Avenue, and then from Mayflower down into the, downtown village is already sidewalked. So this will be, basically, it'll help complete the network so that, our elderly, our handicapped, our children, everyone can be free to, move across those areas in a much safer manner. So that's really exciting. We've already been meeting with the engineer on the project and with the project managers about, how we're going to move that forward and what steps we need to take next to make that to start happening. So that's pretty exciting. It's something that's been wanted in town for a long time. So we've also been in discussions with wind companies, who is proposing an 82 unit inclusive mixed housing downtown. Those are apartments that are going to be in the old Campbell Grain site. It's right behind Buzz Eaton. So it's just adjacent to the railroad. And there was a big community conversation hosted by the Economic Development Commission. And so they actually, the developers were there, people could ask questions. We held a virtual meeting first, so if people weren't comfortable coming in person, they could still get all the information. And then all those slides and PowerPoints were actually posted, with the town's social media resources as well, so that if people could, take a look at them at their leisure at home. So, but that's a $30 million project that's coming. And then we've also been in discussions with 3 different developers for 3 different hotels, 2 different restaurants. We're working on Sustainable Connecticut. So there's just there's a whole lot happening. Sustainable Connecticut has 9 different sort of areas of sustainability. So it's not just about like wetland protection or, sustainable purchasing power. It's across 9 different sectors. So there's a lot happening in that right now too. We've been doing a terrific amount of work to meet that deadline before the end of the month. And I'm pretty excited about the package that we've been able to put together. I was amazed at how many things the town had already done, and that we really needed to just sort of package and take credit for through their system. So it also is going to give us a great path for the future of what other things that we can be trying to do for the community to be wholly sustainable. So that's exciting. And then the very last thing before I think this is my handoff to Leanne, is that, during the time of COVID when, the grocery stores weren't full and there were a lot of empty shelves, there was a huge interest in the community gardens. And the one outside Leanne's office, but also there's one in Mystic, but there isn't one in the center of town. So we've actually just procured a nice Eagle Scout who's going to do one at the town hall. And so that's exciting, and we'll be able to be, sort of more equitable in our offerings across the whole town so that everyone has access to the same resources in the future. So with that, I'll hand it off to Leanne.
Hi,
Thank
everyone.
you, Sue.
I'm sorry, Daniel, go ahead.
No, just saying thank you to Sue, and just a plug that we will be probably sharing some fundraising efforts around that community garden if anyone wants to keep an eye out for that. But thank you, and yeah, thanks, Leanne.
Thank you, everybody. My name is Leanne Theodore. I'm the Director of Human Services for the town. And for those of you that aren't familiar with the services we provide, we actually have 4 divisions within our department. We do social services, youth and family, recreation, and senior services. So just to really go along with what Sue was saying, despite things being so challenging and having to respond to the different critical needs in the community, there are a lot of bright lights shining at the end of the tunnel. And we've had a lot of grassroots resident organizations, volunteers come forward and really pull together and rally with us, along with the 40 plus nonprofits that we have serving Stonington residents, and really with that collaborative effort been able to meet a lot of needs and to really think outside the box. 2 specific efforts that have moved forward and still continue to do so are the SHARE program, which is Stonington Helping Area Residents in Emergency. And again, that was just spawned out of a group of residents who wanted to give back during this time. And they are still working to go grocery shopping and pick up prescriptions and run errands for those that are either quarantined or cannot leave the house. And keep an eye on our Facebook after. I'll share some helpful links if anybody would like to get involved with these organizations or know anybody that's in need that would benefit from these services. And also Stonington Feeds Stonington, which we are up to these over 700 households that we've provided restaurant gift cards to now through this program, which basically was started by resident Nicole Jones. And again, with a lot of volunteer support. Funds were raised through a GoFundMe page, restaurant gift cards purchased. In turn, we've been distributing those back out into the community. The organization has raised over $30,000 at this point, and we've had 6 rounds of gift cards go out with another set to go out soon. So if anybody knows anybody that would be in need of a little extra boost right now, this program not only helps our residents, but also puts money right back into our local businesses, especially our restaurants that have been really striving to thrive during this time. So those are just 2 nice efforts that, started in April and are still moving forward. I really can't say enough for the partnership that we've had with the Stonington Police Department over the past 6 months, really now. I think we're going into 5 months since this started in March. And the chief had assigned Officer Teresa Hirsch to act as a community resource officer for us. And again, to this day, she's available to deliver masks to homes, to do wellness checks, and really just help us conduct our business if we need things dropped off or we're trying to, transfer some paperwork for residents to complete applications. She has been a tremendous asset and help to our community. So if you see her out and about, please stop and say hi and, give her the thanks that she deserves at this time. So just a little bit about our services. We really, as I said, think outside the box. There's some basic services we provide through our social services division, such as completing applications for the food stamp program, health insurance, things of that nature. But really, we've been getting a lot of calls for people who have been stuck with the unemployment system and just kind of hitting a wall. And we've relied heavily with our contacts with State Representative Rotella, who has kind of provided a direct resource to the Department of Labor to help get some claims processed. And that's something that continues for us. Just to give you an idea of how busy the phones have been, our lobby is still closed at this time to the public, but we are seeing regular appointments in person if people have an interest to do that, but much of the appointments have been conducted virtually. But we fielded 3,611 contacts in the past 6 months. And that's related to all 4 of our divisions, but primarily coming through social services at this time. We're also very cognizant of mental wellness at this time, and that we have had an uptick in domestic violence calls and just people really struggling with quarantine and being self-isolated at home. Our counseling services have resumed for outdoor in-person sessions. In the event of inclement weather, we are utilizing our community room. And we also encourage you to give us a call if we can provide any referrals for you in that manner as well. Again, I'd like to thank our partner nonprofits. I see a couple of names that have logged on to join the meeting, and I'm a proud co-chair of the Stonington Nonprofit Roundtable, which brings together, in the spirit of collaboration and community, over 40 organizations. And we meet remotely right now, the 3rd Thursday of the month. I'll also share some information on our page about that as we go forward. But I think I'm coming to the end of my 5 minutes. I'm happy to speak more. We do have some exciting recreation programs coming up. Tennis tournament, Stonington Open, which was started by a group of Stonington students, and we'll be providing some fundraising efforts to the Pawcatuck Neighborhood Center, is happening at the end of August. Safe, socially distanced tennis tournament. We also have some safe, socially distanced recreation activities that began resuming again last month. So please check out our webpage, stoningtonrecdesk.com, for a full listing of what we have available at this time, and happy to answer any questions as we go forward. Thank you all.
Thank you, Leanne, so much. So now we'll open it up to questions. So as a reminder, you can use the chat function, or you could just unmute yourself. We also know there's a delay on Facebook, so I'll give it a minute. One One update while we're waiting that I'll give has to do with Executive Order 7MM. So that's the executive order that allowed for the outdoor dining, the extension for the liquor permit, kind of streamlined process, among other things. So actually just 2 nights ago, our own planning and zoning extended our portion of the outdoor dining and signage requirements to, it was supposed to expire around Labor Day, and now it'll go through the end of the year. So that's really positive for anyone who's looking to kind of keep their signs up in ways that they previously weren't allowed to, or have the outdoor dining. The challenge that we see is the state has control over the encroachment permits. So we have actually 2 businesses in town who just got encroachment permits. So that means they can set up outdoor dining in a state right of way, and then we also have no control over the liquor permits. So that's something we know, we've heard from people that is really important for them. So we're going to keep advocating both at the state level and trying to get together regionally to kind of push for that a bit. But that's kind of one example. So if you guys have other challenges you see that we could either change or help with locally or at the state or even federal level, those are the kinds of things, whether on this call or you can follow up with myself, Leanne, or Sue to let us know. I'll pause again in case anybody wants to unmute and ask any questions or share feedback or an experience, positive or challenging or otherwise. Well, yeah. Is there any talk of Connecticut moving towards greater restrictions rather than fewer? So we actually had a call at the governor's office last night, and it's going to be interesting because September 9th, I believe, is the date that all the executive orders expire. And their plan is they're reaching out to municipalities as well as COGS, which is our regional council of governments, I believe hopefully also Ledgely and the other health districts. And they're probably only going to pick a handful of the executive orders to keep to kind of extend the deadline. So I think kind of a long way of saying I do think there will be less restrictions, but there'll also be sometimes less flexibility. So some of those executive orders actually gave us more flexibility than we otherwise had. So it's not definitive yet, but I think we will see some less restrictions, but also we might see some restrictions come back that weren't previously there. So September 9th, right around then, will be a time we'll be able to really be able to better answer that. There hasn't been any talk or indication about moving to larger group sizes or opening up bars without food. So there hasn't been that. And I think it's really because we're trying to start the school year. Everybody wants to see how that's going to come along. And I believe once we're in that for a little while, if things keep progressing positively, we'll definitely see restrictions lifted. But if they go the direction the rest of the country is going, they likely will kind of add those back in. So that's one thing. Another question for Mary Day was about how does contact tracing work? If you could provide a little bit more detail around that.
Sure. So the way that contact tracing works is that Ledgely Health District gets notified either through word of mouth or through positive cases that we would download daily from DPH, the state of Connecticut. And we reach out to positive cases, we interview them, we try to identify who their close contacts are and when their onset of symptoms first started. And we use that information to advise them on their period of isolation, as well as to answer any questions that they may have related to COVID. And we set them up for daily monitoring of their symptoms and to ensure that they are adhering to quarantine and isolation recommendations. Then from there, we get information about their close contacts, and we would reach out to the close contacts and interview them as well. The close contacts would be advised to quarantine for 14 days from their last date of contact with the positive case. And we would also set up the close contacts for monitoring as well. We're using a system through the state of Connecticut, along with most of the other local health departments. The system is called Contact, and it sets up through the system the positive cases populate as well as the contacts. And we can set them up for automatic daily electronic monitoring through either text message or email surveys, or if the cases or contacts prefer, we can give them a phone call daily to check in with them. So right now, our contact tracing, we are exclusively, interviewing the cases and contacts that we are informed of, mostly through DPH, but also through word of mouth. When schools reopen, we will be working with the administration, and then the school nurses will establish a point of contact and then be in communication with the school nurses and school administrators to be able to be as effective as possible with contact tracing. So to be able to reach out perhaps earlier than when the cases actually would populate, and when we would be notified by the state. And I'm happy to answer any other contact tracing questions that may come up.
Thank you. I'll pause there in case there's other questions or anyone wants to share any kind of feedback or examples. And if not, I'll ask maybe Sue just to touch on for a minute, just some ideas that she's had or already done about kind of business outreach and support, just to give you guys some ideas, and to also, after this call, you can also follow up with us one-on-one to do a deeper dive. But yeah, I'll hand it over to Sue.
Sure. So we've been doing our best to really lead people through the process of, if you're doing some outdoor dining, or if you need to get an encroachment from the state, how do you go about that? Where are the forms? Who do you send it to? What kind of information do you need? The state's really been very helpful in expediting these permits and, getting back to people rather quickly. But because it's a different process that I think people are used to, it's a little scary to try. So I've been going out and actually showing people the form. You can actually do it electronically, but it's a very simple form. So I've found that if I take the form out and show people really how simple it can be to be able to apply for these outdoor dining experiences, we'd certainly like people to engage with us and be part of this and do what we can to make their businesses more successful during this challenging time. So I've been trying to reach out to people and also to, provide some encouragement too. We do have some business owners, who have really gone out of their way to make sure that, that their neighbors haven't been impacted by what they're doing, and that they're doing the right things. So we've had a lot of conversations. I get a lot of calls in the evening from people saying, well, I think I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing this. Is this really correct? And I think something that's happened to all of us since that March date when things sort of shut down in Connecticut is, every night when the governor would issue a new order, we were all trying to follow so carefully, what had changed, what had become more flexible, what had become more restrictive, that we were all doing the right things and making sure that people were informed about what rules they needed to follow today. And in some instances, from day to day, the rules were changing. So it's a very challenging time. But we are doing our best to make sure that people are doing things the correct way, that they have the information they need. We've fielded a lot of phone calls. We've been out sort of beating the sidewalks a little bit too, of trying to make sure that people be able to do things correctly. We want the businesses to be successful. We want them to be operating correctly, not impacting their neighbors, and doing the best they can. And it's been interesting to see the originality and creativity. Some people have really upped their game with some of the parking lot dining of beautiful trees and nice lighting and little tents, and it's been sort of fun to see what people have come up with to try to be creative and keep their businesses going. So, I'm sure that they're spending a lot of time worrying, but also maybe they've been able to move things forward. And hopefully in the future, we'll be able to, keep at least a little bit of this flexibility to make things, it's been a little bit more fun, I think. So, but we're here, and if people have questions or if they're worried about something specific, or, we could do another update after September 9th, maybe that next week, we could reach out and make sure that people are aware of, again, what has changed, which rules have changed, which orders are still in play, so that everyone can be well informed. So, but we're here, so.
Thanks, Sue. So I'm not sure if we have any other questions. We'll be quiet for a minute in case anybody wants to unmute or type anything. But I think just to say, if you do want to do any follow-up with any of us, just like Sue said, to share examples. We can facilitate things, whether it's getting together with other towns on a regional level and kind of putting some weight behind some requests, or advocating through both our state reps, but also we have a weekly call with the governor's office, where they've been very responsive to different suggestions they want to hear from local municipalities to kind of see what's happening on the ground. So if you want to share experiences, good or challenging, we can help facilitate that, or also at the federal level for some larger things. Obviously, the further up we get, the more challenging it gets to make the difference. But at the state level, like Sue said, they have been responsive where they feel like they could be. So please do let us know. And then obviously locally, if there's things we can do, whether it's just connecting partners or ideas, like Leanne mentioned, Stonington, Feed Stonington and the Share Group are two great examples of just local residents who saw a need and reached out to us. And luckily our Human Services Department is just amazing and full of yes people. And so they ran with it. So if you guys have ideas or see challenges, even if you can't take the lead, we can probably try and help. So we did get, thank you. We did get one other question. So it has to do with the quarantining. So if you have family come, this might be, we can try and answer it, but maybe for Mary in particular. If we have family coming from a state that Connecticut requires quarantine for, what documentation do they need and where do they get any forms that are needed?
Sure, so I can answer this question, and it's a great question. We've been getting a lot of calls about the travel advisory. So the form that needs to be completed, you can actually go online to portal.ct.gov/coronavirus/travel. I will put that into the chat too. And once you arrive in Connecticut, you would fill out the form. It is a mandatory 14-day quarantine for travelers. And the only exception to that rule would be if there was some reason that you absolutely were unable to quarantine, such as you had to come for a funeral. If you have a negative test result within 72 hours, you can submit that test result to the Commissioner of Public Health. The email is also on this Connecticut travel website. And the only other exception would be if you are going to be in Connecticut for less than if you are going to be out of state. So like, let's say you were in Connecticut and you were going out of state and you were going to a state that is on the list that has the travel advisory, you would not have to complete the form if you were there for less than 24 hours. So for example, in Stonington, lots of people would work in Westerly, for example. So if they're going to work in Westerly and coming back home, they don't need to worry about filling out travel advisory. But let me put this website into the chat.
Thank you.
Sure.
That's a great question. We were very happy Rhode Island got taken off the list.
Yes.
Leanne, anything else you wanted to add before we close? And again, any other comments, questions, or feedback?
Sure. Just please encourage anybody that you may know that's struggling to reach out. There's not a lot we won't help out with. If we can't facilitate the service at our department, we will definitely find somebody that can assist the situation. And also, I just wanted to let residents know we are rolling out our advertisement for our virtual preschool school year program this year. Due to the space within our classroom, we decided that going virtual would be the best way to go. That being said, Ms. Jenny, our head teacher, has pulled together a 5-day curriculum where she's going to be doing circle time online and checking in with families personally on different goals and child development issues that might be going on. So we'll be rolling out that today as well. And we're trying to just still keep a nice, happy balance between virtual and in-person offerings as everyone feels that they're might be in a different place and ready for different things than other families may be when it comes to getting together in person. But what I just want to leave the message is that we're here for you as a community, as a town department. Even though our lobby front door is locked right now, we are still actively working within the building. And please just call our mainline number 535-5015. If it's normal business hours, you will get a prompt call back. I'm happy to help however we can going forward.
Thanks, Leanne. And we had two other quick ones. So Susan, thank you so much for sharing about the Masketeers. You guys are fantastic. So I think everyone can see it, but just for anyone not on the chat function, they're still making masks and they're working on making masks for youth. And they're also accepting requests from any organization. So if anyone wants to connect with with Susan, you can contact me or Leanne, and we can help make that connection. But thank you again, Susan, for all the work you guys have been doing, as has Cher, kind of connecting with people in the community. The other update is from the Yellow Farmhouse, which is a local nonprofit right down the road from us. And so they had an exciting update. So they have a partnership with the Stonington Housing Authority. They just got funding to purchase fresh vegetables, and Yellow Farmhouse acts as a hub to make the purchase from local farmers and then make the delivery. So they've actually already been contacted by 2 other organizations. So they can see there's more interest, and they're going to start trying to raise funds to kind of extend the program, since it helps obviously farmers and also those in need of fresh vegetables. So anyone interested in learning more about that or getting in touch, you could reach out to, again, us, and we can help make a connection with Jen Rockman over at Yellow Farmhouse, which, just for people who don't know, is situated at Stone Acres Farm on North Main Street in Stonington. So thank you, Jen, for that exciting, great update. And I think she shared, in the chat function, the link to yellowfarmhouse.org for anyone on the call. If there's nothing else, we're very thankful that you guys all took the time to join us this morning. And like you said, don't hesitate to reach out and just help share the word. We're here to help. We're here to hear feedback, and we will do anything we can to help you guys. So thanks for taking the time. Oh, wait, we got another one. How about La Grua? Thank you. The La Grua Center has pivoted to virtual programming. So concerts recorded at La Grua and then posted to YouTube, youth art projects posted to YouTube, and Stonington Artist Exhibit on Facebook, as well as speakers on Zoom. So that's all at lagruacenter.org. So thank you, La Grua Center. And we have been seeing some really excellent online programming. So please do share that around, social media, emailing friends, family. I think it's a great way to kind of raise awareness about some of these great local nonprofits, but also give people something important to be doing during this time. So thank you. All right, guys, thank you. Reach out. Hopefully we'll see you soon in person.
Thank you.
Thank you all.